Good morning. This is Business Breakfast coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. It's the last working day of the week and we're set to bring you the latest stories happening from the business world. I am Omobolanle Adeshui. Here's what's coming up on the program today. As the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, disburses a total of 23.2 billion naira to 28 companies whose projects were selected for funding in the first tranche of its newly introduced 100 for 100 policy for production and productivity (PPP) initiative. We'll take a look at the policy and the consequential impact it will have on the economy. Also to come, equities markets closed on a positive note as investors gained 215.08 billion naira as the Nigeria Exchange All-Share Index went up by 0.85%. Well, this is Business Breakfast. Now let's begin with some top business stories. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, disclosed that it has commenced an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the explosion of a floating production, storage and offloading FPSO vessel in Warri Delta State. The vessel, with a capacity to process up to 22,000 barrels of oil per day, inject up to 40,000 barrels of water per day, and store 2 million barrels of oil, exploded and sunk at the Ipokiti terminal around Escravos in the early hours of Wednesday, 2nd of January 2022. A statement signed by NUPRC's Mr. Paul Osu on behalf of the Benga Komalafe-led commission made available in Abuja. The commission stated that it was working in tandem with other relevant agencies of government to get to the root of the matter. And Mark Zuckerberg's net worth has decreased by $33 billion. This is equal to the record-breaking plunge in Meta shares on Thursday, 3rd February 2022. Based on the Bloomberg Index, the 37-year-old has a net worth of $89.6 billion, which no longer makes him one of the 10 richest people on Earth for the first time since the summer of 2015. The company rebranded from Facebook to Meta, of which Zuckerberg owns 13%. Zuckerberg's $31 billion loss rank with as the second largest single-day loss in history, only surpassed by Elon Musk's $35 billion loss in November after he tweeted about selling 10% of his Tesla stake. The stock of Meta Technologies nosedived after the company warned that revenue growth in the next quarter would be weaker than expected and that recent privacy changes from Apple would cost the company $10 billion. Facebook's parent company's stock price has plunged more than $230 billion in value in a single day, the biggest one-day loss in U.S. history. In its earnings report on Wednesday, 2nd February 2022, Meta reported its first-ever decline in daily user numbers, raising concerns about the future of the company. And the federal government has disclosed that it has agreed to a 30-year concession for the Onitsha River Port, adding that the move will generate 50 billion naira and boost job creation. This was revealed in a statement by Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, after the Federal Executive Council, FEC, approved the decision. The ICRC also stated that the concession was approved under a Rehabilitate, Operate and Transfer (ROT) arrangement. Recall in 2021, the federal government issued operating licenses to about 8 barge operators to move containers from Lagos Port to Onitsha River Port and other inland ports through the country's inland waterways, adding it would likely generate as much as 30 billion naira annually from that operation if well managed. And the federal government has issued a check of 250 billion naira from Sukuk Bond to 3 ministries for the implementation of capital projects across the country. These are Ministry of Works and Housing, Ministry of Federal Capital Territory, and the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. Out of the 250 billion naira check, the Ministry of Works and Housing got the largest share of 210.5 billion naira. The Ministry of Federal Capital Territory was allocated 29 billion naira, while the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs was allocated 10.4 billion naira. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the 250 billion naira was part of the capital expenditure in the 2021 appropriation bill. She said the government would continue to raise the needed fund and prioritize spending for critical infrastructure in the country. Well, that's about the size of our top business stories this morning. Coming up in a moment, we turn our searchlight on the CBN's 100 for 100 policy and the impact on the economy. We'll be back in a moment to discuss this further. Please stay with us. Well, if you're just joining us, you're watching Business Breakfast on iBrandTV here in Lagos. Well, the CBN has launched the 100 for 100 policy on production and productivity (PPP) targeted at private companies who have a project to fund and can apply for as much as 5 billion naira under the scheme. The CBN is prepared to select 100 private sector companies with projects that have the potential to significantly increase domestic production and productivity, reduce imports, increase non-oil exports, and overall improvement in the foreign exchange, generating. Recently, the Apex Bank disbursed a total of 23.2 billion naira to 28 companies whose projects were selected for funding in the first tranche. We'll explore this, the policy and how it will affect the Nigerian economy. We'll get talking now with Gamaliel Tanimumo, policy analyst, joining me via the phone. Thank you so much for joining us, Gamaliel.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Same to you. Happy New Year to you and the team as well.
Yeah, well, the Apex Bank says it will set up comprehensive regular monitoring of specific benchmarks and key performance indicators, that's KPIs, for selected companies. Let's look at some of the indices and some of the factors they would be looking out for. They would be looking out for the rate of growth in production output, increase in capacity utilization, increase in export volume, increase in export value, decrease in industrial raw material import volume, decrease in industrial raw material import value, increase in the number of jobs generated, and so on and so forth. But do you see the CBN duly monitoring these indices? We see that there are a lot of indices and criteria listed out here for a company or for private companies to qualify for these funds. Do you see the CBN duly monitoring this?
Okay, thank you for having me, and good morning, Lagos, Nigeria, and to all our listeners, irrespective of where you're coming from, listening from rather. So, because the CBN is the Apex Bank, I think they have all the structures and mechanisms to make it happen. So I do not have a problem with that.
You know, having the structures and policies to get something done is different from having the willpower or having the whatever it takes to monitor and ensure that it is done the way it should be.
I was coming to that.
Okay.
Because of course we also need to put these things in perspective. We all know that the problem of this country is usually about the political will. So when we want to do this, the question is, beyond the rhetorics and the media vibes and all of that, can we follow through? So yes, they have the structure, the CBN is a repository of data, but like you rightly pointed out, the question is, we have the will to follow through. So it's about the will, and I think that if we are true and we are honest with this, such that it doesn't become like every other policy that the CBN is turning out, we should be able to get the desired results.
Now, what are the chances of politicizing? You know, we've talked about the political will and, of course, ensuring that it is being implemented the way it should be. But what are the chances of politicizing or doctoring the process and maybe giving the funds to government allies and cronies as against those who really need these funds?
So, again, that is one of my concerns as a business analyst, to say that. So, the first thing we heard was that the CBN has disbursed a total of 23.2 billion to 28 companies in the maiden batch of its newly introduced 100 for 100 policy for production and productivity initiative. So the question is, what is the criteria for shortlisting these 100?
Well, they already listed out the criteria, some of which I mentioned at the beginning of the show.
Okay, so the question is there some form of objectivity? I hope we're not going the federal character way and saying that this. So, let's give the CBN the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what is going to happen in the subsequent editions. That's number one. Number two is, since some of these companies are in public domain, let's also check them out and
You're saying Nigerians, sorry to butt in, you're saying Nigerians should also take that pain of checking out these companies?
Yes. So what I'm saying is, for example, if we are giving X Nigeria Limited this amount of money, we're able to check X Nigeria Limited out online and see that they have a presence. Possibly, maybe we can do some independent assessment, and which is what I have expected the CBN to do. Appoint an independent observer or consultancy company to ensure that people follow through, because we've had cases of funds are being disbursed and they are diverted to some other ends and all of that. But as it is, let's wait and see how this goes.
Well, analysts have noted that with this long list, that's the requirement, only a few companies that probably don't need the money will qualify. And the greater danger of the selected companies sinking into deeper debt is highly possible, especially when you look at the real challenges of lack of adequate public power supply, forex, multiple taxation, bad roads, security, and even the ease of doing business. What are your thoughts on this? The fact that most of these companies that may qualify for these requirements may not even really need the funds, so to speak.
Well, again, that brings us to the question of the Nigerian factor. Those are my fears. Those are my worries. And since we do not have a government that really, permits me for my choice of words, lacks the sense of accountability, who likes like an emperor, we're going to have those issues. And those are the issues that you have mentioned, bad loans, and all of that. But we can only speak, we can only advise the government. Government is the alpha and omega, and I'm sure that they decide what they want to do per time. But I would have expected that the CBN appoint a consultant or some independent person to ensure that these funds are used for the purposes to which they were given, they didn't end up as bad news, they are repaid, and then so that this cycle can go on and on for as long as these funds are there.
But don't you also think that the critical sector, that's the critical sector of the economy, the youth and SMEs have once again been shut out, especially when you look at the fact that statistics shows that SMEs contribute 48% of the national GDP, and that accounts for 96% of businesses and 84% of employment. Is it economically wise to shut out this critical sector of the economy? Because the average SME may not be able to meet all these requirements.
Yes, I'm sure that the CBN has its reasons for targeting companies at the highest point of the economic ladder for these purposes. And as a consultant, one of the challenges that SMEs and small businesses face is lack of records. Now, so it is not that these funds are not there, but the question is, can the average SME access it? Do they have systems? Do they have structures? Do they have processes? And I'm not saying that those big names also have this thing. But having said that, I'm showing you a line of argument. I'm sure that the CBN has several other support or economic vehicles
initiatives.
For SMEs. Maybe what we can clamor for is rather than make it 100 for 100, we can say give SMEs maybe a 20 slot, a 10 slot, so that they can further add value to the economy. But if you look at it broadly speaking, I think that what they're doing is strategic, and hopefully looking at it from tax purposes, you give these guys money, they pay intensely, they do this, they do that. So it's going to be not a one-line-fits-all argument if you look at it. Yes.
It is really a brilliant initiative if you look at it, actually. That's in the general overview. But the big question is, will it get to the people who really need it? And that's the question a lot of Nigerians are asking, saying that they are hoping that this wouldn't go the same way every other interventions and CBN funds have gone, and that it will be accessible to those who really need it. But when you look at this requirement, one begins to wonder what aim or what objective the CBN is hoping to achieve. But another question is the question of how businesses in Nigeria will not need to import some form of machineries or products to enhance production of any innovative ideas that will boost the economy. Because one of the criteria, or one of the requirements that the CBN has put as a caveat is that they want to reduce importation. How do you see this working out?
So that is a long call, and I do not know how realistic that is. So we want to reduce importation. The question is, do you have the infrastructure to accommodate the sort? How are you empowered local
production?
Do we have power? I mean, for a country of over 200 million people, we are still struggling with 4,000 megawatts. That is grossly inadequate. Insecurity is there, etc., etc. So I don't think that argument is valid, because if you give me money, the chances are that I'm going to go and import some of these things. So charity should be done from home, which is what I would have expected, that a chunk of this money will be given to MSMEs. MSMEs can provide for local substitute or local consumption, and of course the big guys will now take from SMEs. So there's going to be a value chain, because as it is, you give me money, I go out of the country, I take foreign currency devaluation, capital flight, etc., etc. So I would have expected that there's a loop in what the CBN is doing. Empower MSMEs, MSMEs by way of upward integration, provide support to the big companies, and then the fund is a revolving fund in the system, not outside the system. That is what I would have expected.
Well, 28 companies have already benefited, or are set to be the first to benefit from this particular project. That's a total of 23.2 billion naira. How do you see this going? What are your thoughts? What are your predictions?
Okay, can you please take that again?
Looking at the first tranche of money, that's 23.2 billion naira going to fund projects for 28 companies. What do you foresee? How do you see this going?
Well, I do not expect that there won't be little issues here and there, learning curve, etc., etc. But let's see how it goes with this first 28 companies. Let's see how well they will fare. Because for me, it's like an experiment, a guinea pig. We need to see how well the CBN handles this, because everybody is watching to see if the CBN is an unbiased umpire in giving out this fund. So time will tell. You and I are still in this country as of today. Let's see how it goes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gamaliel Tanimomo. Thank you for your thoughts on the show this morning. Gamaliel Tanimomo is a policy analyst, and he's been talking to us about the CBN's 100 for 100 policy on the show this morning. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we will take you to the equities markets. Please stay with us. Well, let's take you now to the stock market. Equities markets closed on a positive note as Nigeria Exchange All-Share Index appreciated by 0.85% to close at 47,329.8 basis points, as against 0.38% depreciation recorded previously. Its year-to-date return currently stands at 10.8%. Market breadth closed positive as Owando led 23 gainers as against 19 losers, topped by Farm-Deco at the end of the day session. An improved performance when compared with the previous outlook. Market turnover closed negative as volume moved down by 20.29% as against 27.36% uptick recorded in the previous session. Fidelity Bank, First Bank of Nigeria Holding and Guarantee were the most active to boost market turnover. Guarantee and Nigeria Exchange Group topped market value list. And now let's give you a summary of what the market was like yesterday. The NSE All-Share Index was at 47,329.8. That's a 0.85% increase, while the market capitalization moved up 0.85% to close at 25.5 trillion naira. The volume traded yesterday 346.7 million rather. That's a decline of 20.29%, while the value traded was 3.83 billion naira with a decline of 38.75%. And now to the number of deals, that was 4,952, decline of 15.75%. And now to the top gainers for yesterday. The company, looking at the companies that gained after yesterday's trade, we have Owando gaining 5.5 naira 17 kobo. That's a 10% gain, and Academy gaining 9.73% to close at 1 naira 13 kobo. We have SCOA gaining 9.262% to close at 1 naira 4 kobo, while Lasako gained 8% to close at 1 naira. RTB Risco gained 7.69% to close at 0 naira 26 kobo. And now to the top 5 decliners. We have Farm-Deco gaining or losing 10% to close at 2 naira 20 kobo. Champion losing 8.7% to close at 2 naira 30 kobo. Ikeja Hotel lost 6.99% to close at 1 naira 43 kobo, while Unity Bank lost 3.77% to close at 53 kobo. Mutual Benefits lost 3.70% to close at 27 kobo. And now to the top 5 trades of the day. We have volume traded by Fidelity Bank, that's at 55.93 million, and also First Bank of Nigeria Holdings trading 27.9 million naira. GTCO, that's Guaranteed Trust Company, trading 21.29 million naira, and also Transcorp trading 20.4 million. Owando traded 18.36 million yesterday. All right, we have Ambrose Omodio, that's the CRO, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Limited, to help us make sense of what the market was like yesterday. Thank you so much, Ambrose.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the market has seen increase in profit taking in recent times. Looking at the Nigeria Exchange All-Share Index dropping from 47,000 to close at 46,000 basis points on Wednesday's trading session. Now, before reversing to 47,000 on Thursday, what could be responsible for this switch? Help us understand it better.
Yeah, just like I always said in most of my forums that anything is associated with volatility, not enough direction. We are still in the market because the pennies are really directing in terms of decision where to be and where not to be. On that note, they are setting up some position to enter the order. That is that the market at any time, this rule that buy low and sell high are always there, whether in any season or out of any season. And the nature of the market is that any season is a market that comes 4 times in a year. And traders for investing are seeing high volume in the market, which indicates that we are seeing more institutional investors and retail investors in the market because of the penny season. And these are the beauty of penny season. The liquidity and the momentum are high. Just that what we are seeing now, the market touching 48, 50,000 is possible because we are not seeing those high cap companies releasing their numbers. Apart from MTN that released their own about last week Friday. So as we are going to the new week, we expect big names in the banking sector and other non-sectors to release their results. Those that not release their audited accounts for the month of January. On that note, we are seeing a good trend coming to the market as from next week. And that's also likely to turn February around. And to the earlier that in the past 5 years, February has not been a favorable month in the market. But if we do this, I think that February might be a period for investors because of what any season. And you know that these companies are going to come with a good dividend. Looking at their debt quarter number and they do their investment limited account, we are seeing a better number that is where the economy and where the market is going. So I mean, there's a time for us to invest wisely and also stay with good equities.
It looks like some of your predictions are coming to pass because you earlier predicted that February is going to be a good one for investors. But what are some of the fundamentals that investors should look out for in some of these stocks?
Yeah, you can't separate the economy from equity market. As far as we are seeing a kind of recovery in the market that keep on going up, then that the economy is also looking up in that direction. And we're looking forward to see what we call the consumer price index for the month of January, next week, before the insurance out next week. And that's what's likely to influence the market depending on the outcome from where statistics. And then I also expect to see the fourth quarter GDP for the last quarter 2021. That's what's going to inform what the market is. But the beauty of the market is that because the FPC kind of retain rate, FPR, that's attraction, and also the money market or physical market are not looking good. For that, investors should target those companies that have released good earnings in their future and even on their unaudited accounts for the year 2021. That will guide them. And also, do not invest that the volume and the needs in individual stocks because it takes a lot of information for you. Because when there's high volume in the company, then there's something that's happening. When there's no volume, you also know that you don't care about fundamentals to say earnings and also sector, factors or fundamentals in that sector also should guide you. But I will tell you, liquidity in the market is a plus for the market. Those sectoral news again is a plus. And earnings is one that will guide the market if the liquidity is there and work and the positive sectoral news. With earnings, you see that going up into the end of the month of February. For me, investors in the Nigerian market should be smiling because other markets of the world are looking down while our market are looking up. It says that the oil price and also that is going up is plus for us because in the history of the market, whenever oil price is looking up, our market is in that direction. It's also what we are seeing now. Before, when we commit that oil price is looking up, our market is doing that. But we can see that now that oil price is making new highs, our market is also making new highs. It says that it's also another fundamental that supports the market at this point.
Well, that's some good news, isn't it? Well, some analysts have said that this trend, that's the Thursday session, would continue. This trend would continue. What are your thoughts on that?
I always say that in any equity market, we don't expect the trend to be thing that will come and stay. The one we call price correction, pullbacks, and profit taking. These are also part and parcel of the market. That means as we are seeing market making new highs, we expect that people will take profit. That means when market slow down because we are taking you as an investor or trader should not panic. But rather, you look at your investment decision and also look at your objective and look at the stock layer. If what attracted you those stocks are not there again, you can start. But if those are the information that attracted you, if the market is pulling back on profit taking, you don't panic out of your position. That's why if good investors know what you want to invest in, if you have a stock loss, have your investment objective, have your entry price and your exit price. Once you know all this, even when the market is optimistic, unless there is fundamental change in the market, sense of better volume, sense of sentiment, sense of any economic news that is not favorable to the market, yes, you can start running. But if they are not there, like just profit taking, the free market correction is part and parcel of the market anytime. That means profit taking, pullback, corrections will not take you out of position unless there is a fundamental change. Once attracted in those stocks are not there. If not, this is time to look at stock and hope because we are seeing that as the time is come and the bit of position, we are seeing the market hitting high and that is market crossing 48 or hitting 50 in the time. For me, it's very possible. So far,
are your predictions for the coming week, Ambrose?
Yeah, we have to see how the market goes today. But I think that the trend was seeing, this oscillation trend was to continue next week. Because as the numbers come, market will react. Like I said, anything is more volatility, long direction. But when it comes, market will react to this number, see market will go up and down. That's why next week expect this mid trend again to also continue until we see those individual stocks that will hit the new high, this new high because of what? Because of their earnings or their corporate action.
All right, thank you so much, Ambrose, for the in-depth analysis this morning on Business Breakfast. Have a great day.
Yeah,
all right, I've been speaking with Ambrose Amodio, Chief Research Officer at Invest Data Limited, analyzing the stock market. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll take you to the global oil market. Please stay with us. Glad to know you're still with us. Well, let's update you with the global oil market. Oil prices surged to late-day trading Thursday, sending the U.S. crude benchmark through $90 a barrel for the first time since 2014 due to ongoing supply worries and as frigid weather cascades across the United States. Global benchmark Brent crude settled at $91.11 a barrel, up $1.64 or 1.8%. While West Texas Intermediate crude soared $2.01 or 2.3% higher to end at $90.27 a barrel, the first time the U.S. benchmark has closed above the $90 level since October 6, 2014. Analysts attributed the late rally to growing concerns that extended cold weather could hit production in Texas, exacerbating the tightness in world crude markets. More than 200,000 people have lost power across the United States due to the cold thus far, and recollections of Storm Ida a year ago that knocked out power to millions of Texans remain at the fore. The market was also watching developments between Russia and the West over the former's aggressive posture towards Ukraine. And now moving on to the commodity market, where the gold market remains anchored around $1,800 an ounce, following stronger than expected labor market data as fewer American workers applied for initial unemployment benefits last week. The U.S. Labor Department said that weekly jobless claims fell by 23,000 to 238,000, down from previous week revised estimate of 261,000 claims. The data was better than expected, with consensus forecast calling for claims around 245,000. The latest employment data creating a little selling pressure gold price. April gold futures last traded at $1,804.20 an ounce, down 0.32% on the day. The 4-week moving average for new claims, often viewed as a more reliable measure of the labor market since it flattened week-to-week volatility, rose to 155,000, up by 51,000 claims from the previous week. Continuing jobless claims, which represent the number of people already receiving benefits, were at 1.628 million during the week ending January 22, falling by 44,000 from the previous week's revised level. Well, that's the size of our package today on Business Breakfast. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And from all of us here, it's bye for now.
There's a chance you've ignored this trend for the last few years or so because pajamas were for only bedtime and flu time, not daytime. Then during Milan Fashion Week, the stars of street style made PJs look completely normal. Pajamas have been evolving since 2012, gently through Celine, Jonathan Saunders to Topshop, H&M and M&S, and are now here to stay. The pajama dressing trend has been beloved by the fashion crowd for years, and with a little bit of inspiration, we can easily and sneakily incorporate loungewear into our everyday looks, and we highly doubt that anyone will notice either. Turn your pajama top into a button down. We've had a thing for Hawaiian shirts since binging Outer Banks, so an oversized button down from your favorite PJ set will create a similar vibe. Pair it with Bermuda shorts and chunky sandals for a laid-back vacation-like look. Play around with knots. Of course, if you want to wear your printed pajama shirt but not have it look so large and relaxed, you can always knot it or leave a few buttons unbuttoned, turning it into a crop top of some sort. Create a set of your own. Plaids, florals, stripes, brights. There are plenty of breezy pajama pants that are cute enough to work into your everyday outfit. If you're stumped on how to make them look more elevated, try something structured that features a similar color scheme, then finish things off with embellished slides. Replace your cutoffs with comfy shorts. Sateen and cotton pajama shorts can be just as versatile as your go-to denim pair, and depending on how you style them, can even look luxe. A crisp white button-down is a no-fail choice, but we are also big fans of pairing these bottoms with cardigans and polo shirts. Use your top as a sweater. A plaid pajama top will add something extra to a simple, solid look, and if things get too steamy, it will look just as cute tied around your waist. Stick with a color theme. Wearing matching pajamas outside of the house was considered a faux pas in the past. But what's the difference between doing that and investing in cohorts or twin sets? If you plan on doing this, we dare you to fully commit. Style your PJs with shoes and a purse that are in the same family color, creating a pairing that's easy yet way too statement making to ever come off sleepy looking. Break up your tie-dye sweats. Tie-dye sets are still growing strong now, but there is nothing stopping you from wearing them to the store. Break things up by pairing and styling the top with your favorite jean shorts, then add bold colored sandals or sneakers to really wow the crowd.
My friend, if you touch me, I will slap you.
Okay, now slash me.
Who? Making noise in the government house? Who are they? They want to see me? Can't somebody handle their case? It's me they don't want to see. Okay, let them come.
My friend, say you to move, Daddy. Follow. Like mother, like daughter.
I beg you. This one will concern me now. Now this matter will carry come here. I beg, I don't want.
I want to talk. We won't take this.
Excuse me. Yes? What is all this for?
We came to report your driver that impregnated my daughter.
No, Daddy, no.
I don't understand.
Why are you doing like last man?
Excuse me.
You go
Excuse. Will you shut up? You are in the governor's office, and you have to be very peaceful. So what is the problem?
Sir, we came to report your driver that impregnated my daughter.
Daddy, no.
Wait. My driver impregnated her?
No.
Me?
You not feel.
I beg your pardon.
Oh,
Sir.
Is that your boy?
Sir, with the way situation have now, we pardon your baby. Because this girl said your driver, but the way she's stretching out, it's like you.
It's like me?
Yes.
Excuse me. Have you met me before?
Sir,
What is this?
she's trying to show you what you use. Sir, we can
Wait, she said where and when?
That's right now. That's right.
You two are remembering.
Ahead.
Small.
That's so down.
I mean, she's the one. See, what you drop into a fertile soil has germinated. It has grown.
The secretary here
Oh,
first
I
lady.
lie. Oh, he has accepted us. Our in-law near your husband.
Wait, are you saying that I am the one responsible for this pregnancy?
My governor, let me tell you something. On our coming, he's written capital letter G, me governor. You are not good. That's it. No, it's your property.
Oh shit.
Don't be a rubbish that we have been doing up the house.
Leave her alone. She took after me. After she well.
Please, madam, you see, let's just come to an agreement.
Negotiation.
You see,
You are together.
I saw you with another man that
Lie. Come on. This girl cannot even shit in my head.
No.
Let alone cheat on you. I can't cheat. This girl cannot cheat.
So you decided to make me the father of the baby?
No.
Sir.
Me and you decided? When? Because I was drunk that night? I was celebrating the victory of our party.
We voted for you.
Anyway,
We voted for you.
Yes, sir.
if she gives birth to a girl, no problem. You know, in this state, we don't allow abortion.
I know.
If she gives birth to a girl, I will give you 30 million.
Sir, my governor.
Cool down, cool down.
I will do that.
Cool down, please.
I will do that. Don't touch me, I'm cooling down.
If she gives birth to, what did I say before? Boy, I will give you another 30 million. If she gives birth to a girl,
My poor better head.
and they get sit down, sit down.
Governor, I'm okay.
I say sit They sit down.
Okay.
Sit down.
Let them call the AC.
If she gives birth to twins, I'll give each of you 50-50 million. What is all this?
Governor, you have spoiled our life. I have not counted 50,000 before. I don't mention 50 million. 20 million.
Sit down.
Daddy, stop it. You're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing us. You're embarrassing me and my baby.
Listen. If after giving birth to the twins, I'll fly to Vietnam.
Oh. Daddy, we've gone to London before.
Governor, our life has spoiled. Sorry, our life has better.
And if she loses the pregnancy,
You go put her. Excellency, if my pikin was, I think you're the one.
My baby.
But you not kill you.
My baby.
if you touch her like a kid,
Better men.
don't mind too much.